Assalamu alaikum. It's your brother Alfonso, NationTown TV co-host. And I would like to greet you all in the green words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. I'm here with my co-host, Brother Landon X. Collins. This is our first NationTown TV episode live in person. So I would like to start off by saying, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, who appeared to us in the person of Master Father Muhammad, who came down from his holy place and traveled 9,000 miles to claim what was his. And I also would like to bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is his messenger, Messiah, and exalted Christ. Further bearing witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's divine warner and teacher in our midst, and I would like to greet you all with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Yes, sir. So I'm here with my brother co-host, Landon X, for another fiery topic. We came prepared, so for all those who are viewing, feel free to comment, ask questions, like, share these videos, because we're gonna have another great discussion tonight. Brother Landon?
All praise be to Allah. Just as my brother started out, I would like to start out in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who mercifully appeared in the person of Master Father Muhammad. I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, to be right and exact and down to the modern times. And I can't thank either one of them enough for continuing to intervene in our affairs through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That's the man who gave me and my entire generation life, because if it wasn't for him, my entire generation would be psychologically and spiritually stillborn. So I thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for that life that he's breathing into us every day. And again, welcome to NationTown. Finally, we're in the same place at the same time. So now you know we're not the same person. So we don't have to do it via satellite from the moon. And this time, our people can really, our viewers can really hear both of us clearly. And I also like to do a sound check with the viewers. If you're having any issue with actually hearing us, feel free to let us know via the comment section, and then that way we'll make any changes that need to be made. As I always say, NationTown TV is devoted to genuine mathematical distribution of news, opinions, and facts. The name NationTown is inspired by our beloved Western Regional Student Minister, Tony Muhammad, who inspired myself and Brother Alfonso to make his word flesh with the NationTown mission here in Los Angeles, mighty Muhammad Mosque number 27. And these live segments are just topics that we touch on a daily basis. This is my brother, this is my friend, and it's my soldier, my comrade in spiritual arms. And we go back and forth on topics every day when we're doing the work. And this whole process is about letting the people in on those discussions, because they do get lively sometimes. In fact, most of the time, very lively, but always very informative and always based on facts. Now, in the nation, we're taught to learn the science of everything, so we deal with the science of everything, including trending topics and current events. Now, today, we're retouching a topic that we dealt with before on the crisis in Africa. Not just the Libyan slave trade, but also the regime change in Zimbabwe with our dear brother Robert Mugabe, and what's been happening in Libya for the last really 6 or 7 years since the regime change of our dear brother, may Allah be pleased, with Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. And I'm going to go ahead and start it off with our dear brother Alfonso with a question that I have for him. Brother Alfonso, now that the initial shock of the story has settled, because, when we first hear about a story, we had a knee-jerk reaction to it. Right. And now that that's settled, and now we've had the time to really parse a few facts, how do you feel about the Libya issue and or the Zimbabwe issue now that it's about a week old and now we have a chance to take a breather, think on it? Has your opinion changed on anything, or are you even more mad or more upset with the situation? Tell us how you feel, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Landon.
Yes, sir.
I think anytime there is oppression anywhere, there's oppression everywhere.
Yes, sir.
As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stated in the past. So I think that we should never ignore such an issue that important. I think as the week is going on, it hasn't got the same amount of publicity, the same amount of uproar that it had when it first initially took place. So I would, suggest to black people all around the world that we shouldn't go back to sleep on the situation, as well as the situation with Zimbabwe. The situation with Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe, with this president, from what I've heard in recent reports, that he was giving the white people who live in Zimbabwe back the land that they took from black people initially. I think it's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? And in my opinion, dealing with traitorous type leadership that's going on in Zimbabwe is just, the minister had he said some powerful words in the past dealing with, what's the brother name that was in the media about 20 years ago, with the Reverend Jackson situation?
The reporter?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a reporter for the Washington Post.
Right.
He was a brother who said something that was, he basically dissed the minister as well as Jesse Jackson over that NationTown comment.
Right.
That's a phrase that black people used to use to describe Jewish neighborhoods or places in cities like New York or Los Angeles.
Right.
And Jesse Jackson used that word, and that really sunk his campaign because the media really took it and ran with it. And since the minister was working hand in hand with Jesse Jackson, they basically made it out like Jesse Jackson was also playing the so-called anti-Semitic role.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And so my point is, we dealing with a traitorous leadership who doesn't have the interests of black people. You know what I mean? So I think that these are things that we can never take lightly. I think these are things that we can just never go back to sleep on and just forget about, because these are real situations. Now, some people on Facebook pose some great questions when they are asking, well, who are the people that are taking I had it in the past, so it came back, it's just already in there.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, but I can text him and try to get it for you in a second. So I think some people asked on social media, who are these people that are in Libya taking the pictures? You know what I'm saying? Who are the people that's behind this news story? And I think that's a good question. I think that's a valid question, that because we don't have boots on the ground who's actually doing the media, on this topic. So we want to know who's doing the media and who's giving us this story.
Absolutely. And while our brother Alfonso brings up the video so we can stay on top of comments as well as any questions that you have, we will deal with comments and questions as long as they're appropriate and as long as they're dealing with the topic at hand and they're respectful. Keep in mind, you are watching NationTown TV, not your TV. You're welcome to do your own thing, but here on NationTown TV, we're going to deal with the topic from a nation perspective. But yeah, I agree, brother. You know, the initial, you know, I can't really say that I was initially shocked, as I said before. But one thing that I wanted to bring up is that there are actual footage now that I'm going to bring on the screen behind me of where not only do you have a situation in Libya with slavery, but you also have an issue with UN soldiers gunning down Libyans, you know, even though they're also being detained. If you can see that video, well, that picture behind me, that's an actual picture of Libyans who are hog-tied, you know, detained, but yet they're still being shot down. That's a gun that's in the foreground of the picture, and ammunition. And this was taken by UN soldiers. So basically, the Libyans who are not being sold as slaves, they're being gunned down like dogs. So that's, you know, so it's deeper than just the slave trade. That's really just to be honest, just another side effect of
genocide.
Exactly, and it's what the media calls a failed state.
Right.
But, you know, I can't fix my mouth really to call it a failed state, because it's not a failed state if you actually had leadership, good leadership, the best leadership in Africa in Muammar Gaddafi, and then they were forced out. Not only were they forced out, but they were forced out, you know, with a conspiracy that spanned about 30 years. A lot of people are really pointing the finger at Barack Obama, and Barack Obama pulled the trigger on it. But they had been aiming at Muammar Gaddafi and even dropped bombs on Libya as far back as 1986, when Barack Obama was about 25 years old. Ronald Reagan, he gave the go-ahead to drop bombs on Libya and to actually try the regime change. So what happened in 2011 was about 30 years in the making. Yes, sir.
Hey, can I say something?
Yes,
just looking at those photos that is so detestable and disgusting that it reminds me of what happened in Rwanda.
Yes, sir.
You know, with the Rwandans, they even made a movie about this where there were two different tribes in Africa, you know, that were at odds, and the American government had news of what was about to take place before it even happened. So they didn't do anything to prevent what happened in Rwanda, and then as it was going on at the American embassy in Rwanda, they had a lot of Rwandans that were working at the embassy, and the American ambassadors left the embassy with those Rwandans to get slaughtered. You know what I mean? So this just looks like another form of genocide to me. You know what I mean? And going on in 2017 in Libya.
I think we have a question.
Oh yeah, thank
you. GMO. Let's see if we can check that question from my sister. Shout out to No GMO. We will be giving a shout out to Hip Hop Detox later on today.
Assalamu alaikum.
Later on tonight. Let's see if we can get that actual question.
The question, you see, okay. The people enslaving them are probably taking these pictures. These pictures aren't from a phone. These are professional pictures. The question, why are they allowing this news to be out now? What is the real motive?
That's always a very intelligent question to ask. What is the motive?
Right.
You know, what's the end game?
Right.
Now, I brought these pictures up behind me for a reason. These are the first two installments of the book that is written by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam Research Group, The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And I bring this up for a reason. You know, this situation in Libya and and what you read in the secret relationship between blacks and Jews, it brought to the forefront in my mind that there's always an underhand, there's always a hand behind the scene, so to speak. There's always a puppeteer, a geppetto that's pulling the strings that the people don't see. And a lot of us think that that's the way it used to be, and now because of social media, you know, everything is exposed. Not necessarily, because like I said, with this Libyan situation, social media is really feeding this propaganda that, you know, Barack Obama woke up one day in 2011, you know, with a bloodthirst to kill Muammar Gaddafi. But you can go on YouTube, and I was going to play the video, but we don't. I don't have the actual internet hookup on this computer. But you can go on YouTube, and there's a video of Ronald Reagan letting the world know that he just dropped a bomb on Libya, and it's dated in 1986. 1986. And if you read Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, you find out that Jews were the main merchants of the slave trade. A lot of people didn't think that. A lot didn't know that. A lot of people, when they think the slave trade, first thing comes to their mind are basic Gentile, you know, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white people in the South.
So let me ask you this. So are you, the point that you're getting to, are you suggesting that the Jews might have a hand in this slave trade that's going on in Libya?
Oh, absolutely. The real power behind the 30-year plot to kill Muammar Gaddafi is from the Zionist power structure coming out of Israel. They're the ones that set that in motion. And since America is the lapdog of Israel, even though Israel is about the size of New Jersey, all of America, whatever Israel says jump, America says how high and how much do you need. That's how America follows Israel. And the Zionists, you know, they put America, they sicked America like you sick a dog, like a slave catching dog. They sicked America on Muammar Gaddafi as early as the early 80s and late 1970s, when you had that plane crash and they blamed Muammar Gaddafi and his regime for that. So they've been going after him actually since the 70s. And you see the secret relationship between blacks and Jews. You see those same puppet strings again, because now if you talk to the average black person who considers themselves woke, who peruses Facebook and social media, and you ask him who's to blame for Muammar Gaddafi being dead and out of power, they will unequivocally, without saying another word, say Barack Obama. And won't say another word. If you ask them who's responsible for the slave trade, they'll tell you white people, Gentile white people in the South, and African slave traders. But they won't mention Jews. But Jews are the hidden hand, the major hidden hand behind both of these. So we can't even boast that now we're the transparent woke generation where nothing goes past us, because things are still going past us, and this is a good example of it going past us. Yes, sir. Anything you want to comment on with that?
Yes, sir. One thing that sticks out to me, you know, like you said, there's a hidden hand in everything, and when there's a war, that hidden hand always plays on both sides of the war. You know what I mean? They play on both sides of the chessboard. You know what I mean? So I don't, like Minister Farrakhan said, the Savior's Day 2012, you know, you can't fathom the depths of Satan. You know what I mean? But dealing with slavery in 2017, you know, as black people all over the world, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the black men are brothers all over the world. So how do we deal with something like this? How do we allow a repeat of slavery in 2017? Although this doesn't just look like slavery, this looks like genocide. You know what I mean? So how do we deal with this? You know what I mean? In 2017 is my question to you.
Well, that's a good question. That's actually the subtitle of this episode, What Now and What Must Be Done. And I'm definitely going to get into that because there are a few things that we as black people can do here in America. First of all, let me just say there is no easy button on freedom, justice, and equality anywhere in the world. And black people, you know, I've always found it strange that the most oppressed, you know, struggling people in the world, the black man and the black diaspora, we're always looking for some microwave instant solution to everything when there's never been a microwave instant solution to anything. But there are some things that we can do. We can actually do international business with Africa. I'm going to give you some pointers and some guidance on not my own personal guidance, but I'm going to point you in the direction of some things that can be done with that. Also, they're just simple everyday things that we can do here in America on a daily basis, different from what we're already doing it. But I'm going to see if I can play some footage from Ronald Reagan and from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because the real answer to that question that you just asked me, Brother Alfonso, what can we do? The one-word answer is unify. And we have to have more solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Africa. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad always pushed that. You know, he never pushed us to try to be like Arabs or be like Africans, but he always pushed the unity between all of the 4,400,000,000 Aboriginal people all over the earth. So I'm gonna see if I can play this video from y'all's president, Ronald Wilson Reagan. And if you count the letters in all three of his names, there's 6 letters in each name. So let's listen from Mr. 666 himself, and let's see if it plays. 1 second. Viewers, let us know if you can actually hear that.
The attacks were concentrated and carefully targeted to minimize casualties among the Libyan people, with whom we have no quarrel. From initial reports, our forces have succeeded in their mission. Several weeks ago in New Orleans, I warned Colonel Gaddafi we would hold his regime accountable for any new terrorist attacks launched against American citizens. More recently, I made it clear we would respond as soon as we determined conclusively who was responsible for such attacks. On April 5th, West Berlin, a terrorist bomb exploded in the night about 3 wanted by American servicemen. Sergeant Kenneth Ford and a young Turkish woman were killed, and 230 others were wounded, among them some 50 American military personnel. This monstrous brutality was the latest act in Colonel Gaddafi's reign of terror. The evidence is now conclusive that the terrorist bomb of La Belle discotheque was planned and executed under the direct orders of the Libyan regime.
All right, so I'm gonna play that again and see if we can get a better sound on that. But again, this is Ronald Reagan announcing to the entire world in 1986, April 14th, 1986. Barack Obama was 25 years old. If you ever seen that picture of Barack with an afro and a cigarette hanging out of his mouth with his hat tipped to the side, that's what he was looking like when this was going down. Now, I'm not trying to excuse our brother from any wrongdoing, because he was definitely the trigger man. But that trigger has been pulled for the last 30 years. Our brother Barack was just the first one to actually get the shot in, and I don't think that that's a coincidence. This is how they always do us. They always make sure that there's a brother or sister that looks like us that's in the front end with the gun, with the smoking gun in their hand. That's how they've always done, and Barack Obama unfortunately fell for the okie doke. So again, I'm going to play this. This is 1986, April 14th. President 666 Ronald Wilson Reagan, and hopefully you guys can actually hear it.
launched a series of strikes against the headquarters, terrorist facilities, and military assets to support Muammar Gaddafi's subversive activities. The attacks were concentrated and carefully targeted, minimized casualties among the Libyan people, with whom we had no quarrel. From initial reports, our forces have succeeded in their mission. Several weeks ago in New Orleans, I warned Colonel Gaddafi we would hold his regime accountable for any new terrorist attacks launched against American citizens.
Now, with that being said, I'm glad I was able to at least play the video, because like I said, the real answer to Brother Alfonso's question, what can we do? We have to unify, and we got to get out of this mentality. We got to stop finding reasons to divide each other and stop, we have people who actually have religious beliefs, black people who stand on religious doctrines that close the door on Africans, that says that Africans are not our brothers. Right. You know what I mean? I saw an Ethiopian brother that looked just like me a couple of years ago. I mean, you can't tell me that the Aboriginal people of this earth are not all brethren, and we got to make sure that we're not closing the door on each other based on petty differences. And usually the petty differences that we have with one another are based on our differences in oppressors. Like a Dominican who think he's different from me because his oppressor was Spanish and mine was British. Right. And that's the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life. Right. So I'm going to show you some video from our brother, and this is one of the many reasons. We got a couple of questions over the last couple of videos as to why we follow the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Right. Well, I'm going to give you one very huge reason why I follow the brother. I could probably write 3 books as to why I follow the brother and why he's brought me to Islam. But one of the biggest things, I've always loved my people. I've always loved the Aboriginal people. And this is a man who doesn't sit back, on YouTube just talking about unity. Yeah, you can try. You see the address? World Friendship Tour Part 1. Video is a little loud. And Brother Alfonso is going to try to play it as well. And while it's playing on his end, I'm going to show the video on my end.
During this World Friendship Tour, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was welcomed by numerous heads of state, government officials, and religious luminaries, including Dr. Hassan Farabi of Sudan, President
praise is due to
All
Allah.
praise due to Allah.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and and that's why we love that man, because he won't let petty differences come between him and the other 4,400,000,000 Aboriginal people of this earth. And we have to follow that example. If you don't want to be a Muslim, if you don't want to wear a bow tie, if you don't want to wear a suit, if you don't want to cut your hair, that's fine. But at least have the good sense to know who your brothers and your brothers are all over the world, because united we stand, divided we fall. That's not just a cliche, that's mathematics.
Right.
And that's what's happening in Africa. Africa is extremely divided.
Right.
And it's a beautiful thing going on right now. Nigeria has stepped up to the plate and has offered, they've offered, what they call it, they've offered their country.
Right.
They've opened their doors for all of those who are going through, the Libyan refugees. They've represented themselves as a safe haven.
Right.
They're even considering military force and going into Libya and doing something about it with military force. And that's beautiful, because Nigeria is a country, if you've ever seen the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's interview from the 90s with Mike Wallace, where Mike Wallace tried to claim
lit him up.
that Nigeria was the most corrupt nation in the world. And he lit that man up in the best of manners, because obviously America is the most corrupt nation in the world. So, we have to understand good leadership when we see it. And leadership is not somebody who's going to pick you up and take you and carry you. It's leadership. When you're following somebody, if they go left, you go left. If they go right, you go right. If they jump, you jump. If they run, you run. And we have to know who we following. And if we follow the right example, then we will be in a much better situation than what we in. Go ahead.
And just to add to that, because I've also seen those comments and people ask, why do you follow Louis Farrakhan? Well, show me a leader. I don't care who he is. You know what I mean? Show me a leader who has the power, the spiritual power, the mental power, who's clean inside and out, that has the ability to transform human life. You know what I mean? To take somebody who was completely nothing. You know what I'm saying? Me, I was one of them individuals who I didn't consider myself to be anybody. You know what I mean? In this world's life, and he took my life and made me somebody. You know what I mean? Show me a leader, who uncompromisingly, fiercely goes up against the American government, all branches of the American government, fearlessly, not afraid of losing his life. We talking about a man who has nothing to lose, but everything to gain. You know what I mean? And other countries fear this man. I mean, not this man, I'm sorry. Other countries fear this country. You know what I'm saying? But he lived in the country that everybody else feared. You know what I mean? So people wonder why do you follow a man like Louis Farrakhan? Well, show me a man that's greater than Louis Farrakhan. Show me a man that can call 1 million people and 2 million show up. Show me a man that could call 2 million people, 1 million people and 2 million show up 3 different times.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? So, I just wanted to touch on that because I'm kind of real passionate about that, because this is my spiritual father. You know what I mean? And if it wasn't for a man, like for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to stand up and help resurrect the Nation of Islam, you wouldn't have the people that we have now. You know what I mean? So, and I also like to touch on, because the topic of the subject, and the time of what must be done in relation to the crisis in Syria and the crisis in Libya. You know what I mean? And in my opinion, what needs to be done as far as original people, like you said, unite. You know what I mean? But it's like we can't continue to sit back and not do nothing. You know what I mean? I mean, if we gotta donate, send charity, send aid. I mean, what is America doing? America, you caused this problem. You know what I mean? What are you doing, American government? Are you just sitting back and you just eating a bowl of popcorn and just watching what's going on? You know, I mean, but see, America doesn't want to be held responsible for all of her wickedness. Right. See, she want to hold everybody else accountable for the evil that they do. But see, that's the hypocrisy that Minister Farrakhan was revealing on part of Mike Wallace when he mentioned Nigeria. That's America's hypocrisy. America don't want to be held accountable for her wickedness, but us as original people, us as black people, we have to hold America accountable, period.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
You know, so we can't be afraid to hold America accountable, because I mean the little that you do that's wrong. You know, America's gonna bring you up on charges. America's gonna be ready to sue. You know, whatever you do, America's gonna hold you accountable. So it's gotta be vice versa. It's gotta be a two-way street. You know, they shouldn't get away scot-free. Hillary Clinton shouldn't get away without responsibility. The whole Obama administration shouldn't get away without taking responsibility for what's going on. As a matter of fact, they should be the main ones sending aid and sending some type of help to those Africans who are being basically genocided off the planet.
Yes, sir.
Period.
Yes, sir. All praise is due to Allah. I just wanted to bring this picture of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. As you know, normally when we had our other setup, you know, I always had a picture of either the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan or the messenger behind me, and I didn't want to break that tradition. But speaking of the messenger and what our brother Alfonso X was explaining, you know, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad famously said, you know, our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb. Right. And that's a beautiful, you know, comment, and that's a beautiful, and that just gives you a hint of the wisdom of that man and what he taught and what he's still teaching, if you understand. And as you see the image that's behind me, that's a visual of that quote. That's the word unity with an atomic bomb within the word. Right. But if unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb, how powerful is disunity? That's a question we have to ask in this day, because we still haven't scratched the surface of real unity. And the man who's come the closest to it is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Right. You know, the Million Man March, he called for 1 million, 2 million showed up. 97% of them, I believe it's 87 or 97%, were not Muslims. Right. Most of the Muslims that were there were on post. Most of the Muslims that were there were on the stage with the minister. Those 2 million brothers you saw out there, which included Barack Obama, which included Jesse Jackson, which included millions of so-called Christians, probably hundreds of thousands of people who called themselves atheists, right. People who called themselves Hebrew Israelites, people who called themselves Moors, right. People who probably didn't call themselves nothing but a nigger or a Crip or a Blood. You had rappers that were there. You had R&B singers that were there. You know, you also had one of the few women that was there was Betty Shabazz, right. The widow of Brother Malcolm X. Right. A lot of people don't know that. Why was she there? Right. You know, that's a question that a lot of the naysayers and the mischief makers have to ask themselves. Right. So, you know, that unity, and look what that little glimpse of unity, look at what it did. Right. Look at what that one call did. It brought them all together. Right. And the purpose of that meeting was atonement. Right. It wasn't about threatening the government. It wasn't about people say, well, what was the purpose of it? Right. The purpose was for all 2 million of those men to go back to their respective communities and change the course of what they've been doing, apologize with themselves and God for the life that they've been living, and switch it around. That's why they took, you know, the world-renowned Million Man March pledge at the end of it. It's all on YouTube. You can go see it for yourself. And go ahead, dear brother.
And you make a good point, because I remember hearing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan specifically saying that, you know, you have Jamaicans not liking Cubans. You got Africans not liking so-called African Americans. You know what I mean? You got all these different types of black people who are at odds with one another. You know what I'm saying? Like you mentioned earlier. You know what I'm saying? One got a Spanish slave master, you got an English slave master, the other one got a Portuguese slave master, and we all speak in their languages, and we can't even relate to each other because we got a language barrier between one another. You know what I'm saying? We have all these artificial walls in between us, but the only thing that can tear these artificial walls down is our unity. You know what I mean? These are man-made structures that is being put between the original man. See, and that's why in our supreme wisdom, the question is asked, who is the original man? It didn't say who is the African American. It didn't say who is the African, the Jamaican, the Belizean, the Cuban. It didn't ask all that. It said, who is the original man? Answer. The original man is the Asiatic black man. And you got so many brothers in these different countries who's using these bleaching creams and don't even consider themselves black. You feel me? They tell you in a quick minute, don't call me black. I ain't black, I'm Jamaican. I'm Portuguese, I'm this, I'm that. We want to be everything to say. Even some of the Hebrew Israelites, my brothers, some of the Moors, my brothers, don't want to be what you are by nature. It's not just, black is just skin deep. You know what I mean? But it's deeper than that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, in my opinion, we have a it's nothing of substance. You know, we don't want to be who we are. You know what I mean? It's just sad. You know, it's hard for us to see. If we really stood up on that blackness, when we say black power, in my opinion, if we really stood up on that, it wouldn't be no slavery in no 2017. You know what I'm saying? That's just Brother Alfonso's opinion. It would never be no slavery in 2017 if we stood up on real black power.
And the only thing we really stand up on is white supremacy. You know, in the hood, you know, they got a name for it when a brother who's a gang member, he normally, you know, you catch him with his homies, with his fellow gang members, with his set, you know, and when he's with his set, he's doing the most, he's turned up. But when a rival gang finds him coming out the liquor store by himself, they call that, they say they call him slipping. Because now he's not with his homies. He's not with the set. He may not even be on the set. He's not even in the neighborhood anymore. And what's happening all over the world is that black people and Aboriginal people are being caught slipping. You know, I hate to say it, but our brothers in Libya, our brothers in Zimbabwe, you know, even Haiti, they're getting caught slipping right now because we've worked so hard for the last 400 some odd years to divide ourselves, not be divided, because the seed of division was planted 462 years ago. And we've done all the work since then to divide ourselves, and we've done such a good job, and America's at the forefront of it. You know, black people in America come from all over the world, most of us, but we have been at the forefront of self-hate. We're at the forefront of that. We teaching the world how to hate ourselves. The bleaching, the weed, all of that comes from the self-hate that's built in America. Just like we make cars and send them all over the world. The only thing the black man is making in America and sending all over the world is our brand of self-hate. And the last episode, we talked about what this means to America, and I'm going to black people in America. And I'm going to stay on that tip, and I'm going to continue to really hammer down on that. And what really brought that to my mind, yes, sir, what really brought that to my mind was an excerpt from Time magazine. A Time magazine this reporter is reporting on the situation in Libya, but I want you to listen carefully to what they're actually saying. Right. Listen carefully. You tell me if this doesn't sound familiar. 1 second while I check that situation. Go ahead, brother Alfonso.
Yes, sir. Yeah, family. So there's a major question that I have. You know, why are these Africans migrating or immigrants from their country? Why are they leaving their home country? That's the first question that I have. And the second question that I have is, do they know that Libya is a war zone right now? You know. Thirdly, the third question I have is, where are they going? You know what I'm saying? First question, why are they leaving their home country? The second question is, do they know that Libya is a war zone? Third question is, where are they going? You know what I mean? So it's a lot of stuff that we need to do some investigation on, because these media sources, I can't say that they are true media sources. I can't say they are false. You know, but the Quran teaches us in Surah 49, Ayat 6, it says, if an unrighteous person brings you news, look carefully into it, lest you hurt a people in ignorance. Then be sorry for what you did. So that's why that's why NationTown TV is so important, and we need the believers to help us grow NationTown TV so we can be able to put boots on the ground, and we can send our own reporters out, you know, right along with Final Call newspaper reporters out into other countries, you know, and get the news, get the scoop. It's not secondhand news. These are all brave, patriotic brothers and sisters who's willing to put their lives on the line, you know what I'm saying, just to get the truth, not just to get a story, but just to get the truth, and so we can be right and exact in what's happening with our family all around the world.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And shout out to the reporters that we already had,
right,
who've taken upon themselves. You know, we'll talk in our supreme wisdom. You know, big fields are awaiting the wide awake man.
Right.
And, you know, this is about doing for self in the Nation of Islam. So shout out to Brother Ben X.
Right.
Shout out to Brother Reza Islam.
Big shout out to you.
Shout out to all the brothers and sisters who are taking it upon themselves to not only report what's going on in the world and give that nation supreme perspective, but also just being a positive reflection of the nation and what we believe in and what we do. You know, it seems like some of us, you know, we seek to do otherwise. We seek to show, you know, our brothers and sisters how non-Islamic we can be, or how ignorant or savage we can be. So just shout out to all the brothers and sisters who just in their own social media presence, whether it's something as grand and as frequent as somebody like Brother Ben X, or just on your own Facebook page. Shout out to them. Even if you're not in the nation, if you're just a black person that has a positive presence on social media, and somebody can look at you and say, you know what, they're a credit to the black people in America, I just want to give an original salute to those individuals. But going back to what I was saying, speaking of reporting, there's a reporter from Time magazine that was writing an editorial on this situation in Libya, and I want you to listen to what he said and listen to how familiar it sounds. Listen to this. He says, and I quote, "A transitional government failed to implement rule of law in Libya, which has splintered into several factions of militias, tribes, and gangs. In lawless Libya, many see the slave trade and smuggling as a lucrative industry. Tackling the country's humanitarian crisis will require international assistance." Now, let's stop right there. like I said, I wanted you to listen for any familiar tones in what he was saying about what's going on in Libya right now.
Right.
If you were listening, he was basically telling you the story of black people in America in the last 462 years.
Right.
We had a transition, a forced transition of slavery. And there was a rule of law, but it was a rule of slavery. And when we were let go from chattel slavery, we were pretty much left to fend for ourselves. Now, we did a good job in the beginning because we didn't have anything but each other, and we weren't falling for the hypocrisy of integration.
Right.
But then what happened after integration, that burning house of integration that Martin Luther King spoke of before he passed, before he was murdered, we were splintered into several factions of militias, tribes, and gangs.
Right.
You know, now I'm not saying there's anything wrong. Now, how can I sit here with a bow tie on, you know, the sun, moon, and stars on my lapel, you know, NationTown this, nation that, nation this, assalamu alaikum, and then say that it's wrong? I'm not telling you that it's wrong to believe in something. I'm not telling you that it's wrong to have a faction or a vehicle that you use to get closer to God or just closer to yourself.
Right.
But just like the analogy that I used in the last video, where we're all houses within the same family, just like your aunt, just like your uncle, just like your cousins, they grew up in different houses.
Right.
But your aunt and your mother were raised by the same woman and the same father. They all grew up with the same values. They broke off into their own separate houses. But whenever something happens with the family, good or bad, if there's a wedding or a funeral, they come together with solidarity. Right. If someone dies, they come together and pool their resources to bury that person. They don't say, "Oh, well, I live with Aunt Christine, so I don't have nothing to do with Uncle Joe passing. I don't have nothing to do with that. That's their problem." You know, we don't do that in our own biological families.
Man, come on.
So we can't do that as a race of black gods.
Man, come on.
You know, so if you see yourself as whatever, a Moor, Hebrew Israelite, a Muslim, that's beautiful. But you gotta know when it's time to take that costume off and come to the funeral. Or come to the wedding,
right.
Okay? Come to the family reunion and get things done. We have to be smart enough to do that.
Right.
And if we can't do that, then everything that happens to us, and I hate to be so hard about it, but everything that happens to us, we deserve.
Right.
Because that's one of the easiest things to do, is just unify.
Right.
Come in the same place, sit down, work out. Don't even work out the differences. The differences are so small that you can sit them to the side and just deal with the similarities, and that would be enough to get to where you want to go.
And you make a great point, you know, because we develop the attitude that, oh, it ain't got nothing to do with me. Huh?
Go ahead.
You know, I mean, the brother or the sister gets shot around the corner. They ain't got nothing to do with me until it touch your family. Right. Until death is at your doorstep. You know, then it's, oh, woe is me. You know, hey, can you get Student Minister Tony to come down? Can you call the nation? You know what I'm saying? Can you get the brothers? You know what I'm saying? Can you get me on TV, do an interview on TV? When his death is at your door, but what about the next sister that lost her son? You know what I'm saying? What about the next person that lost their mother, their father? You know what I'm saying? We have to be able to regain compassion and empathy. You know what I mean? Because we, as a people, we lacking that. But let something happen to that white man. Oh man, we coming to the rescue. Something happened to that white man. You know what I'm saying? Better not say nothing bad about the white man. You know, we ready to die about that man. You know, but what about your brother and your sister over here in Libya? You know what I'm saying? What about your brother and sister next door that live next door to you? You know what I'm saying? Jesus said that he had 2 commandments. Jesus came with 2 commandments. And the 2 of the greatest commandments was to love God with all your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit, and love your neighbor as you would love yourself. You know what I mean? Your neighbor is that your brother and your sister, that black man, that black woman. That's your neighbor. That's your family. You know, so you know, pass it over to my brother.
And that goes back to the question of why we follow the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Not worship, not being brainwashed, but maybe we should be brainwashed because this devil has dirtied our brains up. So maybe we need a good cleaning. But we follow what he does in the example, and that's why I showed that World Friendship Tour video. You know, and I'm gonna let it play with no sound, but as you see behind me, he's going all over the world, developing relationships with African leaders in the African diaspora all over the world for us.
Right.
And I'm gonna give you a local example of how we follow the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. On my wedding day, our student regional minister, Tony Muhammad, this was his schedule that day. In fact, I was worried that he wouldn't even be able to officiate our wedding because 9 o'clock that morning, he was teaching from the rostrum of a Baptist church.
Right.
And he was, and they were airing it live on Facebook. I'm getting ready for my wedding. I get on Facebook and I see Minister Tony at the church. And I'm like, man, did he forget about his little brother? He went from that, bounced right back to March 27, 8701,
lit it up.
South Vermont, lit it up there. And then he drove all the way to Orange County where my wedding was, which is about a 5 hour, no, it ain't 5 hours, it was about an hour and a half drive, particularly that day because traffic was messed up.
Right.
And as you saw, those who didn't see it, it's on my personal Facebook page. It got 7,000 views. He gave one of the best wedding, I guess you could say, lectures or wedding officiating that I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
I forgot I was the one getting married. I wanted to sit down and get some popcorn and listen to this brother.
Right.
And then the very next week, while I was pushing the final call, I had a beautiful conversation with a brother who wanted to thank Minister Tony through me. He told me, brother, next time you see Minister Tony, thank him.
Right. Because
a family member of his had been killed. And nobody within the community, so-called leaders, showed up except for Minister Tony.
Right.
And he said, you know, I've been meaning to, this is the brother speaking, I've been meaning to come to the mosque because I remember what Minister Tony did for our family, just his support and being there was huge. You see how he's bouncing around and he's not allowing any walls to separate him and South Central.
Right.
He don't care. He didn't care, you know, what your religion is, whether you're a member of the mosque. He took care of a registered member's wedding. He went to a Baptist church. He did his job at the mosque. You know, he's going to funerals and giving moral support to people who are losing their family members. See, that comes from the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan loves the Aboriginal black man. If you one of those 4,400,000,000 on this earth that are of the Aboriginal people, not this new 6,000-year beast that y'all love so much. Let's just call a spade a spade. You know, y'all love him so much. He loves all of those 4,400,000,000. He goes all over the world. He risks his life. If you're hated the way I'll be honest with you. If I had just a fraction of the hate for me that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had, I wouldn't get on nobody's airplane. I do like John Madden. I don't think a lot of people know that John Madden, the namesake of the video game. He used to, you know, do commentary for games. He's scared of flying, so he used to go on a bus from game to game doing football. See, that's the way I would be if I was Minister Farrakhan. I wouldn't even trust the bus. But he goes all over the world just to gain, you know, friendships in all walks of life with the 4,400,000,000 Aboriginal people. And that trickles down to us. And it sets a standard for us and our unity that would keep something like Libya from happening. And I got to echo what I said in the last part of this Crisis in Africa series. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan warned of this day 30 years ago. 30 years ago. and nobody listened. But you know, there's a price to pay for not listening to the messages that are raised up within us, within our own people, by God. There's a price to pay, and now we're paying that price. So the solution, one of the solutions, Brother Alfonso, is to make sure that we don't make that same mistake in the future. And when anybody, you know, we believe that mathematics is Islam, Islam is mathematics, and what that means, it's not talking about numerical, it's not talking about 8 plus 8, it's talking about logic. And whenever someone tells you something, take it to the court of logic and ask yourself, does it make sense? Put out all your envy, all your personal feelings, all your little emotions. I know that, you know, like Dr. Wesley says, you got all these chemicals in the food that's making grown men emotional about other grown men. You know, I understand. You ate too many Pop-Tarts and cereal, so you see certain brothers on your TV screen and you feel some kind of way. Put all that to the side and ask yourself, is what this brother's saying logical? And if it's logical and mathematical, follow that. And then we can collectively stay out of situations like what we're in right now.
I have a concern, you know, with Black Hollywood, you know, Black artists, because I remember in the, I believe the late 80s, early 90s, during the time of the apartheid was going on.
Yes, sir.
And they held like a big old rally. Black Hollywood, you know what I mean? A lot of, no, for real, Black Hollywood, a lot of actors, a lot of artists. They did a big old rally to free our brother, may Allah be pleased with him, Nelson Mandela. You know what I mean? And just to end apartheid in South Africa, period. But I think it's kind of strange that we haven't heard anything from our Black elite, you know what I mean, Black Hollywood or anything like that. And I just find it very strange that, you know, there's been nothing, you know, no relief, you know what I mean, no military, nothing. I mean, it's just baffling, my brother. I just don't understand it. I just don't get it. You know, I'm trying to put it all together. We all know that Minister Farrakhan warned the Libyans in the beginning, and they should have protected our brother, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, you know what I'm saying, with their lives. You know what I mean? And now they're paying for not heeding the warning that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave to Libya. You know what I mean? But I'm still trying to figure out, like, you know, as far as Black people, you know what I mean? I mean, we express our emotions on social media. And, you know, no, for real, you know, we basically crying out, like, but I'm not hearing any, like, type of campaign. We don't even hear Donald Trump talking about what's going on in Libya. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, it's just baffling to me.
And I definitely feel your frustration, brother. But I would say, pay close attention to what led up to Muammar Gaddafi's murder. And what took place and how Libya was divided. Because you see it on a small, I won't say smaller scale, but you see it happening in America. You know, that's always their go-to strategy. You know, they've developed a strategy for bringing down any leadership that makes it hard for them to continue and perpetuate white supremacy. You know, the first thing they try is slander. That's the first thing they do. They just try to tell you that this person is not the great person that you think they are. If that doesn't work, they try covert attacks, you know, by sending agents into the organization, provocateurs into the organization, COINTELPRO, look it up. It's all public. Listen, this devil is in plain sight. Everything he's done in the last 50 years, it's all public, there's public access to it. The third thing they do, if the slander doesn't work, if the covert action doesn't work, the COINTELPRO doesn't work, they turn their own people against them by using the seeds that were set with that slander and with that attack, with that covert, you know, provocateurs and whatnot. And if that fails, then they go to all-out war. Then they go to
Wow.
all-out war if that 1 through
Wow.
3 is not successful.
Wow.
See, if it would have got to that 4th step with Muammar Gaddafi, that could have been what Saddam Hussein claimed the Gulf War was
Right.
going to be. That would have been the mother of all wars.
Right.
Because Libya had arms, you know, pardon my Swahili, out the ass.
Right. Remember, Mr. Farrakhan told Brother Colonel Muammar Gaddafi to not hand over your weapons because he told that America would never forgive you for what you have done.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he didn't. You know.
Right. So Muammar Gaddafi was done that way, but the same thing is done to our leaders.
Right.
You know, and then America pulls back, or they detach the strings once that leader dies.
Right.
Once they're successful in killing that leader, or that leader dies, especially if they're successful in killing that leader, they take the strings off,
Right.
they change the narrative of that leader, and then they put them on a stamp.
Good teaching.
They put them on a stamp, and we fall for that because they know, you know, like I was listening to Brother Nuri Muhammad break down the Latin root meaning of the word Negro. You know, it's rooted in the word necro, which means dead. We're a dead people. Black people all over the world right now, we're basically the real version of the walking dead. So as dead people, the only type of leader that this beast wants us following is a dead leader.
Right, good teaching.
Someone that we perceive to be dead.
Good teaching.
And when there's a living leader who's going all around the world developing friendships, developing strategies for us, you know, turning crackheads into teachers, turning prostitutes into proud mothers and whatnot. When we have a leader like that, they go through those 3 steps. There's slander, covert attacks, and then they try to turn their own people against them. And all you got to do is glimpse on Facebook for 5 minutes on any given day, and you can see that black people are still falling for that hook, line, and sinker. There are a lot of black leaders, and I'll close this point with this. There are a lot of black leaders that I don't necessarily care for, that a lot of other people do.
Right.
But I will not allow myself to use my time, because that's the one thing you can't get back. If I lose money, I can go make money back, but you can't get time back. And I do everything in my power to not lose my personal time spending it bringing down another black man who apparently is only trying to help people, his people or her people, in the best way that they know how. Right. You know, the Dr. Umar Johnsons, even the Al Sharptons, right. You know, I used to cringe every time I saw Al Sharpton pop up on CNN as the mouthpiece of black people, as right. the representative of black people. But I won't go on Facebook and I won't do no YouTube video, I won't do no Facebook Live video dissing this man, because he gets up every day trying to help black people in the only way he knows how. Right. So when I see him, I say, oh, bless his heart. Right. But I'm not, if I see somebody post, you know, thank God for Al Sharpton, I ain't gonna go with it. Man, Al Sharpton, what right. good does that do? Right. What good does that do to tear down somebody who's devoted his life to civil service? Right. When nobody else gives a damn about us in this world. Right. Not just in America, but in this world. We should at least salute any brother or sister who gives their time and willing to give their life for us, even if we don't agree with the means in which they're going about it.
And that goes to the point that why we follow a man like Minister Louis Farrakhan is because he's gonna stand. He's been standing up for this Libya thing for over 30 years. Sure. You know, so my thing is with this slavery this that's going on in Libya, we're not hearing from nobody else. The only person that we hear crying in the wilderness is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So if you have a leader that you follow, that you're not speaking up on any, that he's not speaking up on any of these topics, I can't respect a leader like that. I can't follow nobody like that. You know what I mean? If he's not being an example of what he teach. You know what I mean? But real quick, I'd like to send a big shout out to our student minister, Tony Muhammad. You know what I mean? For coming up with the idea and the vision of NationTown, and your brothers, your little brothers, Brother Alfonso X and Brother Landon is just trying to make our brother word flesh. You know what I mean? Because, you know, that's a very hard-working brother, and I just like to send you a shout-out, Brother Student Minister Tony, and greet you, Assalamu alaikum, and we love you, you know.
Yes, sir, and I definitely second that. You know, we are so blessed out here in Los Angeles to have the brother that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan called the foremost, and he didn't even. There was nothing he said after that. He just called him the foremost, put a period on it. Go ahead and Google or look that word up, and to be able to say that that's the brother that is our local and regional leadership is a blessing, and I hope we appreciate it. Not just brothers in the Nation of Islam, but I'm gonna tell you, there's no shortage of appreciation of Student Minister Tony Muhammad in South Central. Right. You know, everywhere I go, it's, oh man, Mr. Tony, is he back in town? Mr. Tony, Mr. Tony, man, Mr. Tony. They love Mr. Tony. And I'm going to tell you, they love him because he strives to reflect the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in his deeds. Right. In his deeds. I'm going to say it again. In his deeds. So, you know, so that's just a blessing. Shout out to that. I'm actually looking for another question. Feel free to give questions. I see No GMO, our dear sister, she's doing the tour. I think she's talking about Minister Tony, doing a tour about these vaccinations. Right. He gets an award and said it's his. It's not his, it's the community. And you know, I told a brother this the other day. I said, man, we have a regional student minister who's respected from Manchester Boulevard to Manchester, England. Right. He just got an award in London, England. Right. In a room full of people from all over the world, of all nationalities, all religious groups in London, England. Our man. Right. You know, and our mosque is on the corner of Manchester and Vermont. Right. You know, Manchester, England, that's north of London. But that just dawned on me one day that, man, we have a student regional minister who's respected from Manchester Boulevard and South Central. Right. You know, can any good come out of, what does it say in the Bible? Can any good come out of where Jesus was from? Bethlehem? No. Yeah, one of those. But you know, this is the modern day Jerusalem. This is the modern day Bethlehem, and for him to get that kind of respect worldwide, you know, it says a lot about the 23, 24 years of work that he's done, and look at in LA, and look at the seed that he sown. He didn't tell us, brothers, I want you and you to go and set up a business, you know, invest money in it. I want you to be a positive presence on Facebook. He didn't say none of that. He just talked so hard on it. He laid down a mandate. You know, the minister laid down a mandate and trickled down to the student ministers. The student minister Tony laid down a beautiful mandate, and me and Brother Alfonso just felt like we had to put our hands on the plow. So that's the reason why you see NationTown. That's why you see us doing this. We just trying to put our hands on the plow and do the work that we've been called to do by our leadership. So once again, big shout out to our leadership here at West Point, Muhammad Mosque, number 27. But yes, sir.
And family, we taking questions. You know, if you have any questions, any concerns, any comments that we can respond to, your brothers is here right now. You know what I mean? Building. You know, we do this every Saturday. You know what I mean? On MGT post. This is what we outside doing. Sisters probably can hear us from the inside. We don't know because we be building so hard. You know, so that actually gave birth to NationTown TV. You know what I mean? But we want to take NationTown TV and we want to really make it. We want a NationTown. You know, we want our own town. You know, everybody else got their town. You got Chinatown, you got Koreatown, you got Little Armenia. You know, everybody got their own town. Why we gotta have a project? You know what I mean? Why we gotta have, you know what I'm saying, low income? You know what I'm saying? We want money, luxury, good homes, and friendships all walks of life. So if we want this, we gotta make these things flesh. You know what I mean? We gotta make our word bond. You know, and that's the thing with NationTown TV. You know what I mean? So you know, feel free to ask questions. You know, while we're here. You know, before we end this episode tonight. You know. And
but you know, that actually ties into what we're talking about, because what you have in Africa are a lot of British colonies and commonwealths. And every ghetto in America is essentially an American commonwealth or American colony. And a colony, the basic definition of a colony is a neighborhood or community that's controlled by people who are not even members of that community.
Yes.
So there are outside forces that control us, and some of us, we want to admit it, you know, we want that. We want this enemy to control us and to feed us, you know, because that's the real God. You know, as much as we like to argue about religion, to be honest, for the majority of the 85%, the deaf, dumb, and blind Aboriginal people, our real God is this white man. And white supremacy, I should say.
Good teaching.
You know, so we got to come out of that Commonwealth mindset, that colonized mindset. You know, like I said in the last edition of the Crisis in Africa, you know, I bet you Mugabe's royal palace still smells like his wife's perfume.
I remember
but they're already in talks to return to being a British Commonwealth. This man he ain't even completely moved out. I know some of his stuff is still in the royal palace, and they already. The new leader, you know, I don't even care to remember his name, but the new leader, the new puppet that's been put in his place, the first thing he did was take a flight to Britain to sit down with the prime minister there and talk about returning to being an international Lazarus, returning to being, you know, a commonwealth, returning to the plantation is the way I see it. Why would you be an independent African nation and then want to go back to being somebody else's slave?
Yes, sir.
And that's what a country is when they become a commonwealth.
Because they paid
of a nation that's thousands upon thousands of miles away. And I also want to point out another fact. You know, it's a documented fact now, you know, speaking of Ronald Reagan, that when the Berlin Wall fell back in the day, the agents that worked on that project within the CIA and U.S. intelligence, they came home and were reassigned to helping spread gang conflict and crack cocaine. And here in Los Angeles, for those that don't know, Los Angeles is ground zero of the crack epidemic. You know, so they sent agents from the Berlin Project here to America just to help build the conflict between black people and help us destroy our own neighborhoods. So when we look at world news, we got to stop looking at it like, okay, you know, that's them. Because some of us who feel bad about Libya, we still sleeping good at night because we think that's them. But those same agents that are high-fiving each other right now over what's going down in Libya, they on their way to Los Angeles. They on their way to South Central. They on their way to Southside Chicago. And they got a crate full of guns that they're going to hand out like apples.
Oh, man.
You know, and those guns are going to be followed up with propaganda. It's going to be followed up with slander for leaders like the last leader we have, the last man standing, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And unfortunately, like I said, all you got to do is look at Facebook for 5 minutes and you see that they're already working and they're already being successful on doing that. So the same puppeteers that are fanning the flames in Libya, they're going to be fanning the flames here in America very soon. If they're not already here, I would vote that they are already here. So, Brother Alfonso, if you have anything else, any other input, I want to go through a list of solutions that the everyday black man and woman can do right now to help this from happening again. It's not a whole lot that we can do about this situation as individual black people in America right now. But other than bring awareness to it, which I feel like we're doing right now, but I'm going to go through a list of some things we can do to prevent the next Libya. Africa is a vast continent, so there will be another Libya. So is there anything you want to say before I go?
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I think you should do that, right? And if there's something that I can also build off of that, I will. But I think after you do that, we should probably do a poll and ask the viewers what will be a good topic for the next NationTown TV broadcast. You know, yes, so I think that'd be a perfect segue.
Yes, sir. Now, you know, I did my own, you know, independent research. I was looking for some ways where personally You know, I could either help the situation in Libya myself, or prevent the next Libya, because they already working on the next Libya. Believe that.
Right.
The next Libya might be your community. It might be your neighborhood. It might be Southside Chicago. It might be North Tulsa. It might be South Central Los Angeles. But be careful. Just like when we had these natural disasters in Houston and other places in the South and all over the country, we kind of woke up on that, and we were telling each other to be careful about donating to organizations like Red Cross. Well, the human rights equivalent of the Red Cross is Amnesty International.
Right.
I'm not saying that they're as dirty as the Red Cross, but they're the equivalent of the Red Cross. So be careful with, because when I gave you that Time magazine excerpt, right after that paragraph, there was a little thing that you could click on to donate to Amnesty International. And I couldn't find anything that proved that Amnesty International was doing the damn thing for Libya. So be careful with just giving your money to organizations like that. Just because they're big and operated by white folks don't mean that they're good for our people. America is big and operated by white folks. And what has it done for us before?
Right, yes, sir.
Also, reject any form of disunity with the Aboriginal people, with your Aboriginal brothers and sisters. And what I mean by that, I'll give you a personal example. A sister was being dropped off at the mosque a few weeks ago, and her cab driver was an Ethiopian Muslim.
Right.
And, and she, I guess, on the cab ride, she was trying to explain to him, what we believe in the Nation of Islam. I think she was a processing sister.
Right.
So I don't know how well she conveyed it, but when I came to open her door, which is what we do at the mosque for any sister that pulls up, even if she on a cab,
right.
She told the Ethiopian cab driver, ask him. And so the cab driver got out the car. He asked me, do you believe in the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him?
I wish he would ask me that.
And I explained to him that we absolutely believe in the pillars of Islam. I threw my favorite ayat at him, ayat 2:177, which breaks down what Allah considers to be a righteous Muslim. But what I stopped short of doing, even though he was being kind of abrasive, I stopped short of being abrasive with him. I shook his hand, I gave him a flyer, and I said, man, this is your home. And I had the sun, moon, and stars on my lapel. I said, you know what that is, don't you? He said, yes. So, the first thing I did, I established what we agreed on instead of leaning on what we may disagree on. I could have went upside his head with Master Father Muhammad with point number 12. But I know that that's an explosive, that's a high explosive when you're dealing with someone who was raised in what they call Orthodox Islam. But instead, I laid down the foundation of what I knew we agreed on, and then invited him to come find out more for himself. So that's what we have to do when we bump heads with our Aboriginal people. Focus on, because we got a lot in common. And I'm including our Hispanic, our so-called Hispanic brothers and sisters, who are also the same as our Native American brothers and sisters. Focus on what you have in common. Like all the Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico right now, they realizing how black they are. Because of the lack of help that they're getting from the American government after the hurricane. So let's focus on our similarities. Also, use social media as a weapon. Learn and spread. Spread information, learn information. Not meme information. A lot of us are getting information just based off of memes. You can't trust those memes. Do your research. But use social media as a weapon, because today, and this may change tomorrow or next week or next year, today there's still a lot of freedom on the internet and a lot of freedom of speech on social media, and you can say what you want and use it to do something positive. Instead of using it to talk about what your baby daddy did to you, what your baby mama did to you, or talk about how dissatisfied you are with your church or your mosque or your captain or your lieutenant or your job and all that, why don't you use it for something positive and dig up positive information for people to learn from, and use that as a weapon, because that does have an effect. There was something that happened in the Middle East last couple of years, called the Arab Spring. where a lot of young people in the Middle East rose up against their government.
Right.
And there were some Zionist strings behind that, but those young people use social media to spread the news.
And when you look all over the globe, and wherever there's revolution, the majority of the times it's young people that are at the forefront, the head of the revolution. And brother, our Final Call newspaper director and manager, Brother Fontaine Muhammad, specifically asked the believers in the Nation of Islam to flood all social media sites, you know, with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So just like the earth in Revelations, how the earth swallowed up the flood. You know, just as student minister Tony Muhammad taught a couple Saturdays ago, you know, we have to swallow up the flood of propaganda by using these different social media outlets, because the enemy, he's gonna fight dirty. You know what I'm saying? There's no holds barred with the enemy. He's gonna fight dirty. You know what I'm saying? But the only thing that's gonna sustain us, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, is our righteousness. You know what I mean? So we have to fight back in the righteous way, you know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And last but not least, and this is particularly for businessmen and women, or just those who are interested in international business, our brother, who is the international representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Brother Akbar Muhammad, he has a website that's USTradeDelegations.com. Again, that's USTradeDelegations.com.
Get that.
Go to that website, and it has a wealth of information about how black business people, or any business person, because I'm going to tell you, white people are already doing business in Africa. If you got a diamond on your finger, if you've ever even seen a diamond in the jewelry store, guess where it came from? It didn't come from Orange County. You know, it didn't come from England. It didn't come from Switzerland. It came from the so-called motherland, which is the motherland. But anybody who wants to do business in Africa, go to this website. Our brother Akbar, if I'm not mistaken, has dual citizenship in Ghana. Not because he's from Ghana himself, he just found out how to get dual citizenship at an African country, and I think there's some information about that here, as well as information of the many books that he's written.
Right.
This is a brother who's been all over the world, just like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In fact, most of the time when you've seen the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan overseas, Brother Akbar was somewhere in the mix. He was somewhere there, and a lot of times he's the brother that paves the way and shakes the hands and cuts the deals and sets the meetings that we see the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan do overseas.
Right.
So go ahead and check that website out. And you mentioned Minister Tony and some of the things he says from the roster. Minister Tony reminds us often to spread good news.
Right.
You know, the same way we spread gossip and slack talk.
Right.
So spread good news about your relations with your Aboriginal brothers, whoever they may be. You know, if you run into a Mexican brother or sister and you have a positive conversation, post that on Facebook.
Right.
You know, if you have a good experience at a you know, so-called minority-owned business, post that on Facebook. You know, we love to post what we don't like about ourselves.
Right.
We love to, like I said, we at the forefront of self-hate right now.
Right.
So just make sure that we're spreading our love for our African brothers online. Don't just wait for slavery. Don't wait for a terrorist attack. Don't wait for Boko Haram. Don't wait for something terrible to happen to start telling everybody how much you love Africa. Say it now. You know, and don't wait for a rapper to make it cool. Don't wait for a movie to make it cool. You know, because you're connected to that continent whether you like it or not. You know, like the brother said, "Oh, boys of the hood." I ain't from Africa. I'm from Prince Saul Mafia. No, you from Africa. You from Africa. You know, if you understand. So that's one thing that those are some things that I say that we can do now, and you don't need anybody's permission. You don't need nobody to pave the way. Those are some things that you can do now to get the awareness out there to prevent the next Libya. You know, Africa is not no little bitty place. I mean, you can fit almost every superpower You can fit every superpower nation in Africa.
Right.
If you pick China and America and the Soviet Union up, you can fit it in Africa. That's how big it is. Right. So you're going to see, there's going to be another Libya next year. It might be another Libya next week or next month. Right. But if we show a united front all over the world, there's a very well-known image that was on the Muhammad Speaks newspaper of a black man reaching across the globe and locking arms with a black man on the other side of the globe. Right. And that's what the Honorable Minister, that's what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad believed in. That's what, that follows the deeds of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan today. And we have to do that, you know, as individuals today, regardless of what your religion is or what you call yourself as a black man. We have to do that.
And we have to, like Minister Farrakhan once said, you know, during a lecture, he said, let's talk religion after we're free.
Come on, man.
You know, because that's another thing that's really holding us back is our religious differences. You know what I mean? We got a lot of petty differences as black people. And just as you always say, Brother Landon, how we can agree on 95% of our problems, but we'll fall out with each other over that other 5%. You know what I mean? You know, so you know, I just, you know, we just got to put all our petty differences to the side, in my opinion. You know, but were you done with all the solutions that you had?
Yeah, that was it for the solutions. What I would like to do right now, and it's something that we're going to start doing with each episode. Right. You know, it's hard to find a Muslim follower of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in America without one of these.
Come on.
And this is the final call.
Come on.
The number one news not controlled by the Jews. Shout out shout out to Brother D too. The number one news not controlled by the Jews. And the newest episode, the newest edition, the cover story is "Can You Survive Judgment, Disasters, in America's Future?" Woo! Now this actually came out. This was printed over the weekend, and it was distributed, I believe, yesterday, Tuesday and Wednesday. But for those of you who follow the news, there's a huge sweeping fire here in Los Angeles.
Yes, sir.
It's not affecting the hood.
Right.
You know, so all those worried about your brothers and sisters in LA,
be all right. That's 1,700 football fields long.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it looks like something out of a movie. But, you know, the final call spoke it into existence. It spoke about it before it even happened. Right. And we're going to see more and more. It's not going to be, this is all unprecedented. All the experts are saying that they've never seen brush fires like these. They've never seen the kind of weather that we're going through right now. So when you see, not if you see, when you see that brother with that bow tie or straight tie,
go ahead and get your copy
out there, go ahead and support your own. Now, I just showed you the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan going all over the world, shaking hands and making relationships with our African brothers and sisters. I just showed you that.
Right.
Okay? And how does this man, how is he able to afford these trips? He's able to afford these trips because he has the most successful independent news publication in the world.
Right.
So he's a publisher. So here's a way. We talk about solutions. Here's a way to help support, because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan devoted his life. Devoted his life to building bridges between all the nations of Africa. Right. In fact, when Iraq and Iran were going to war with each other, he visited with Iran first and then crossed the border to visit with Saddam Hussein in Iraq and tried to build a bridge between them. And he would have been successful had they not, they actually America expedited its attacks on Iraq because they knew the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was building a bridge between the Iranian government and Saddam Hussein.
Yes, sir.
So he's constantly in the Middle East, constantly in Africa. They love the minister. I remember the minister saying that he was talking to Winnie Mandela one day, and she said that when her and her daughter are feeling down and feeling depressed, they pop in the tape of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Brother, so, I remember being at the SWAT meeting.
Go ahead.
And I was pushing the Final Call newspaper, and a former military veteran walked up to me, and he asked me, he said, "Are you a Muslim in the Nation of Islam?" I said, "Yes, sir. I'm a Muslim in the nation." He said, "So that means you follow the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan?" I said, "Yes, sir. That's right." He said, "Minister Farrakhan overseas in Afghanistan and Iraq is a king over there among men."
Say it again.
He said, "What Obama is over here," he said, "Minister Farrakhan is 10 times that overseas." He said, "Brother," he said, "if you were overseas and they knew that you were overseas, he said they would treat you like royalty." He said what they were doing when they would capture American militants, he said that they will make you sing. He said they will make you sing 10 Michael Jackson songs, and if you couldn't sing all 10 Michael Jackson songs, they would kill you. He said that they would make you. He said they would test you to see if you were a Muslim in the military. He said a lot of white people that were in the military over there, they was faking like they could speak Arabic and they knew the Quran, but he said that they knew that they were faking and they would kill them. He said that they would put socks over their head with possums in there, eat their faces off. But he said if they found out that you were a Muslim, he said they'll take you in a whole nother room and be treating you like a king. You know, he said Minister Farrakhan, in their eyes, is like a king over there in the Middle East and in Africa. You know what I mean? So we can't really take a man like this for granted.
That's right.
We can't take this man right here for granted. We've been taking him for granted too long, and we're going to pay, you know what I'm saying, for not giving this man the love and the attention that he deserves.
That's right. And regardless of what you believe religiously, I mean, look at yourself. You know, I guarantee you, everybody that's watching this, you probably have something hanging up in your closet, not because you like it, but because you saw some celebrity wearing it.
Right.
So you already following people.
Right.
You already doing stuff because you see other people doing it. So before you ask what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has done for you, he's not a welfare caseworker.
Right.
You know, so he's not in the business of sprinkling crumbs in your hand or in your mouth. He's going all around the world setting an example. He's setting an example. If you want crumbs like Lazarus, then go downtown and talk to a welfare caseworker.
Yeah.
If you want somebody who's going to set an example that can show you, you know, how to take advantage of those big fields that await the wide awake man, then look no further than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But I also want to give a shout out because she's been one of our most consistent supporters. So I felt like it was only right that we also support her and what she's doing. For those that are local here in Los Angeles, I believe that there's a version in almost every city of Hip Hop Detox.
Right.
For those that are in the Los Angeles area, we have Hip Hop Detox. It's an open mic. It's featuring JJ. You can win a chance to have your very own free promotion and interview on the Hub Radio. Doors open at 7 o'clock. The address is 1135 East Compton Boulevard, Compton, California, 90221. Don't be scared to go to Compton. Compton's got a beautiful sister mayor, and she's cleaning up that city. Compton ain't what it used to be, for those of you that are not aware. But
Compton's in the house.
But it's also hosted by our brother Vincent.
Right, come on. Assalamu alaikum, brother Vincent.
Also a hard drive.
Allah's Apprentice.
And student minister. His stage name is Allah's Apprentice.
We're going to drop that Still Standing in a minute. Allah's Apprentice and No GMO. We're going to drop him. We're going to drop him. Don't trip.
Yes, sir.
Don't
yes,
trip.
Sir. So Hip Hop Detox this Saturday, December 9th from 7 to 9 o'clock. Just a $10 donation. You can pre-order for $5. But again, y'all check that out. I plan on being there. She's been asking me and reminding me, and I'm a scatterbrain, so I've been forgetting. But my wife, she's not gonna let me forget this time. So we're gonna be in the place to be, and both of them are so talented. And if the other talent is anything like them, I guarantee you that you will not regret the decision to go check that out. So definitely turn up for that. But other than that, that's pretty much all I have. But also, we will be expanding NationTown TV. We're going to be doing not only our our live broadcast. More than likely, we're going to do those every Thursday, inshallah. But we're also going to do movie reviews, television show reviews, and also music reviews. For those of you who are, who are trying to wake up and you're trying to get out of, watching whatever they put on television or listening to whatever they put out there as music, we're going to be the guinea pigs, and we're going to let you know what's worth your time, what's worth your money, and whether or not it's a good look for black people in America or all over the world, and if it's worth, you seeing it for yourself. And Netflix movies, Netflix TV shows, Hulu, whatever, theater movies, whatever the case may be. So we're going to do that as well as our regular live segments. And like the brother said, if you have any ideas for future episodes of our live broadcast,
come on, what y'all got right now?
Go ahead and comment right now.
Come on, what you got?
And we're going to set up a poll next week. We're going to set up a poll next week, and whoever wins that poll, I guarantee you we're going to show that we're going to have that as our topic.
Man,
you'll see which was the winning topic next Thursday, inshallah.
We can take some right now, man. Any viewers out there that got any ideas for the next live broadcast, why don't you post it up? Quit being shy. We know you there. We see you. You know what I'm saying? We know what the icon means when there's somebody, there watching. You know what I'm saying? If you got any ideas for the next NationTown TV live broadcast, can you post anything? And can you think of anything right now that you can share with us? And also I would like to let you know that Brother Reza Islam is also going to jump on board with NationTown TV as well. You know what I'm saying? That's our brother. He born and raised in Los Angeles, NationTown running through his veins, you know what I mean? So he's going to jump on as a reporter to also help us out as well. So if nobody got any questions or nobody have any ideas for any topics for the next episode, then we can close out.
Yes, sir. I think that's what we're going to do. Once again, I want to thank everybody that joined us, every viewer, whether you view for enjoyment or you view just to see what the moves was doing, the mischief makers and our dear brothers and sisters. We thank you for showing up. I think we have a question that Brother Alfonso may want to tackle. What you have, Brother Alfonso?
Okay, Wallace Golden said, why doesn't the paper represent him that created the idea? The late great brother Malcolm X had projected Muhammad speaks, so why don't the paper represent him? Well, my brother, dear Wallace, the paper is about the people and the news and what's going on in the world. It's not about any particular individual, and the Final Call newspaper, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him to put the trumpet on front of the Final Call newspaper, my brother. You know what I mean? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad put the idea in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's head on how he wanted the paper done, not how Brother Malcolm wanted it, because Brother Malcolm was not the teacher. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was the teacher. He knew how he wanted it done. And the paper doesn't even necessarily reflect any individual. The paper is the good news. It's the news that makes sure that it helped resurrect the dead. You know what I mean? So that's what this paper is for. It is a tool to help resurrect the 17 million more dead to the Lamb of God, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So just to answer your question before we close out, that's why, my brother.
And I also throw in that the Final Call name, the actual first newspaper publication of the Nation of Islam was by the messenger, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and it was called the Final Call to Islam. What you see behind me is an image of that newspaper. That's Master Muhammad, God in the person. At the top, I believe your top left, And Final Call to Islam was the first publication. Brother Malcolm did have a very integral hand in the development of Muhammad Speaks, but what was it called? It was called Muhammad Speaks.
Right.
It was Muhammad Speaks.
Right.
So, you know, whatever fruit that you enjoy, you know, don't forget about the tree that you plucked it off of.
Right.
So, and that's our problem. That's one of the problems that black people have. You know, we focus on the low-hanging fruit, and we don't focus on the tree that bore that fruit. And if we focus on that tree, then we can produce more and more trees just like it, and we can prevent situations like what you see in Libya. But instead, we look at the tree, and then we want to cherry pick and pluck a piece of fruit here and a piece of fruit there, instead of asking ourselves, how can I plant another tree like this, or plant a whole field of trees like this, instead of sitting around, you know, dealing with one apple that you consider to be your favorite apple. Meanwhile, the tree dies. Meanwhile, that's the only tree, and then you move away from it. So, you know, we have to, again.
But that goes back to what you're saying.
Right.
You know, we can agree on 95% of our problems, but we'll fall out with each other over the little 5%.
And let me say something that we've been saying about the whole Malcolm issue.
Right.
And this is something I firmly believe. To all the people that love Malcolm, which includes both of the brothers you see right now, I love what he did as a student of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Right.
But for all of those people who love Malcolm, do Malcolm a favor. Live like he lived.
Right.
Even when he left the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he still was a clean living man.
Right.
The man who did the autopsy of Brother Malcolm said that when he cut his body open, it was the cleanest insides that he had ever seen in his entire career of doing autopsies.
Right.
Okay, so live like Malcolm lived. Live clean like he lived.
Right.
You know, pick up a Quran like Malcolm picked up a Quran. You know, pick up Message to the Black Man and learn the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the same teachings that saved Malcolm. You wouldn't know what a Malcolm X was if it wasn't for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So do what Malcolm did. If you love him so much, do what Malcolm did. Be like Malcolm. Instead of just trying to figure out ways to use him as a way to draw a wedge between you and your brothers, why don't you live clean like Malcolm lived? And if you are a brother, because I don't know this brother or any other brother that loves Malcolm. I don't know every brother that loves Malcolm, but if you love him so much, the best thing you can do for anybody who's no longer with us, who has dearly departed, the best thing you can do is reflect their best attributes. Reflect their best, not their worst attributes, reflect their best attributes in your life. In your life.
But I also gotta say this. It goes back to what I said earlier, you know, because the brother, he wants the paper, you know, to reflect Muhammad, you know, and it goes back to the topic that I said, what I said earlier. You know, Minister Farrakhan is the only one standing up on this particular issue, and he was taught by Muhammad.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So if Muhammad is your man, Farrakhan is your man.
That's right.
Period. You know what I'm saying? Period. You know what I'm saying? There is nobody else. You know what I mean? So, but with that, just to move on from that, Sister No GMO asked a question. She said, how do you make Allah sufficient?
How do you make Allah sufficient? Well, you have to tap into the fact that he made you and I in his image and likeness. Image and likeness.
Right.
You know, image and likeness, which means that you look like him, and I'm talking to my Aboriginal brothers and sisters, you look like him, and you have all of his 99 attributes. You're not the creator of the heavens and earth, and you can never be that, but you can tap into those 99 attributes,
Right.
you know, if you line your mind up with his messages. That's why he gives us Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, 1400 years ago. That's why he gave us Isa, you know, Ibn Yusuf, also known as Jesus. That's why he gave us the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's why he gave us these people so we can help line our minds back up with our original nature, and our nature is Allah.
Right.
Our nature is God. So you make him sufficient by, you know, reflecting him in all your deeds and actions. actions as best you can. And that always is the surefire way to make Allah sufficient. If you don't make Allah sufficient, this is dealing with the previous topic, you don't make Allah sufficient by, sowing seeds of division or settling on the worst part. That's why we're taught to settle on the best part. Allah doesn't worry about the worst part. He's only concerned with the best part. So, make Allah sufficient by tapping into the Allah within yourself. And you can only do that by studying Allah and His message.
And also, that question reminds me of the story of Abraham. And God called down to Abraham and gave Abraham a mission and a task, and a test to see how much Abraham truly loved him. So he wanted to know, you know what I mean? Is you going to give me all your love or you going to give me some of your love? But we're going to see the answer right now. So Abraham said, okay. Not Abraham. God said, okay, well, this is what I'm going to have you do, Abraham. I want you to take your son up, your only son, right, that you fought to have, I want you to take him up on the mountain and sacrifice your son for me, if you love me, Abraham. And Abraham took his son up, although he didn't necessarily want to do it, but he did want to prove to God that only God was sufficient. That he was even willing to sacrifice his own child. You know what I'm saying? Just because God asked him to do it. You know what I mean? So the reason me bringing that up is to put nothing up besides Allah. You know what I'm saying? There's no God beside Allah. You know what I'm saying? Not having anything that's equal to Him. You know what I'm saying? Not bowing down or serving anything but Allah Himself. You know what I mean? He is going to test us to see how much we truly love Him. Because He is going to test us with the things that we love. So we say we love, you know what I'm saying, our family, we love money, we love sex, you know what I'm saying, we love drugs, you know what I'm saying, everything of the world, but he's gonna test us with the things we love. You know what I mean? And for us and if we are able to pass this test, we will be making Allah sufficient for us in our lives. You know what I'm saying? We have to know. We have to see that Allah is way more important than anything of vanity, So, just want to touch on that question from Sister No GMO.
We're gonna give you about a minute or two for one, maybe two questions. If not, we will go ahead and close out. But as I was saying before, dear brothers and sisters, I want to thank all of you for taking your time out just to hear your brothers. We just your brothers, no title necessary. We just your brothers speaking on topics that are important to the black man and the African diaspora, and that's what we're concerned with. We're concerned with the unity of the black man here in Mosque 27, here in the Nation of Islam, because that's what concerns our leader, is the unity. So while everybody else is searching for divisions and searching for reasons to not, join on with their brothers and sisters, which leaves us divided and vulnerable, like Libya, like Zimbabwe. Let's do like this brother on the screen behind me, and let's go around our neighborhoods. If he can go around the world creating friendships for the black man in America, let's go around our neighborhood. But you can't give out something that you don't already have for yourself. So my challenge to everybody watching, as well as myself, is to master the art of loving yourself so you can build up a surplus of love that you can hand out to somebody else. Don't tell me about how much you love Malcolm if you don't love yourself. Don't tell me how much you love a woman if you don't love yourself. Don't tell me how much you love a man if you don't love yourself. Don't talk about how you love everybody and you love white folks and all that, and you don't even love yourself. So I want to thank you all for joining us, and I do want to issue that challenge of self-love. Love yourself more. By the time we have our next episode, I challenge everybody to love yourself more than you did last week by next week.
And real quick, family, you know, if you are viewing and you are not in the Nation of Islam, but you would love to come out and hear more of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I would like to suggest that you can come to a Nation of Islam Muhammad's Mosque meeting on Sundays. I'm not sure exactly what time they are in your city, but if you are in Los Angeles, the Muhammad Mosque meetings start at 11 o'clock. Doors open at 10:30. So if you want to come out, you want to be a guest, you would like to hear more of the life-giving teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you are always welcome to. Our home is your home. And we are located in Los Angeles on 8701 South Vermont, Los Angeles, California. I repeat, 8701 South Vermont, Los Angeles, California. And you can see your brothers, Brother Landon X and Brother Alfonso Wiggs. We will be here. We miss no Sundays, you know, and we here faithfully, you know. And if you have any questions about your local mosque in your city, then feel free to hit us up on the NationTown TV page, and we'll be glad to assist you in however we can.
Yes, sir. So with that being said, we're going to leave you as we greeted you in the words of peace. We said in the Aboriginal language of Arabic, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.